Well, good morning, my beautiful, beautiful neighbors, cohorts, friends, family, colleagues. It is a beautiful day here in the upstate, but that's not why you tuned in. You tuned in because, well, either like my voice, it's not because you like my face. Would never understand that one. Or you like the content. And we're going to talk today about stress. And that stress is a normal part of everyday life. Stress is actually helps us. Stress actually is essential for us to go forward as an individual, as a family unit, as a community, as a country, as a um, species. Stress causes us to adapt. There's good stress, there's bad stress, um, but that is defined by how we respond to it. The same stress can be given to two people, and one adapts to it and becomes a good stress, and the same stress applied to the person right next to them, and they have a bad reaction, so it's considered bad stress. Um, Stress isn't the problem. It really isn't. Failure to adapt to the stress or to stressors in general is the problem. And what controls adaptation? Nervous system, brainstem, spinal cord. Brain coordinates all of that adaptation. It coordinates the functions of the body so that it can respond to whatever stress it is. If it's a virus or bacteria or a fungus, any kind of those kinds of invaders, or even a parasite, the body's immune system is in charge of that. Guess what coordinates the immune system? Yeah, that's right, the brain. If it's a scrape or cut, and you have to adapt to a broken limb or a gaping wound, guess what calls in the repair mechanisms? Yep, exactly right, the nervous system. And you can think of any other stress that comes onto us, emotional stress. Well, that's seated in our cognitive ability to handle that. So it's all internal to the brain anyway. And the brain handles that. The brain can, if it doesn't adapt, that's when you start getting the visceral, the outside of the brain issues like ulcers and heart palpitations and any other of the vagal overload stuff is when your stress gets pretty high, um, and you're not able to adapt to it and absorb it and use it for good or just deal with it. Then um, stress isn't the problem; it's your ability to adapt. So you go on emotional, spiritual. There's another component to that too, but how do we handle submitting to the higher power we've chosen to worship? Are we going to adapt to what that higher power tells us? In my case, what the Bible tells us, what God tells us through the Bible, what Jesus teaches us through the Bible. I'm going to submit to that, or I'm going to fight and try to do it my own way. That is the stress. The commands are not the problem. It's me adapting to them and submitting to them. Um, Financial. Are we going to let the ebbs and flow of the financial world around us and in us and in our small little checkbook, or all of our accounts, all of our investments, the economy in whole? We're going to let that stress us out. It's hard not to, but it's going to make us adapt and grow and be able to handle the next stress better, or is it going to crush us and eliminate us from the face of the earth, basically? So the stress really isn't the problem. It never has been. Stress, um, it's our ability to adapt. And you can say, well, what about jumping off a 20-story building? Well, that stress is, again, that stress of falling and having a sudden stop on concrete. The ability to adapt to that is not there in us. If you throw a spider off the same building, that they can handle that. They have the ability to adapt to that. They can slow their fall. They have capabilities to, um, even without tethering themselves to the wall or anything, have the ability to absorb that and make that not a deadly stress. So it's not the stress; it's our ability to adapt. So we are built to handle stress. If we weren't, then we would die immediately. We would not have been a species for very long. And our ability to adapt is really measure of health. Is how healthy are we? It depends on how well we can adapt. And so adaptability is a direct, real measure of health. Um, and the again, going back to what we do as chiropractors, we clear the nervous system so it can focus on the things it needs to focus on, which is adapting to its environment. And if it's got an interference someplace, it can't adapt well. It can't adapt through those channels that are interfered with, not as well as they could if they were clear channels. So that's what we do as chiropractors: is we constantly check and clear the channels of communication so that your body has the best chance at adapting at 100% of your capabilities, so you can respond to whatever stresses in your life better, whatever better is for you. So that's stress and adaptation. Again, stress isn't the problem. How you adapt to it is. And chiropractic here, 135 years now going on. Me, just 35, but the profession as a whole, over 130 years now to providing that kind of service to humanity. It's not medicine. It's not it's not massage therapy. It's not physical therapy. It's not occupational therapy. It's not acupuncture. It's not um, any of the other stuff. All of those have their place for what they do. What we do is chiropractic, and chiropractic is separate and distinct from all other professions. We have a separate and distinct license, and we have a separate and distinct philosophy. And those that stick to it agree 100% with what I've said so far, and those that tend to want to be in other professions might have. I think they'd still agree with what I said. They'll just go about doing it a different way and adding on to what I've said with other things. And that's their choice. It's a free country, and I hope they have a lot of success with it. So anyway, I'm going to leave you with that today. Have a great weekend. We're going to be doing some work around the house, so hopefully that'll be fine. We're going to get a little bit of cool spell here in the upstate, and that's great too. And hopefully get a little bit of air therapy, wind therapy on the motorcycle. So talk to y'all later. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.